Blissfest is the best. Yeah, Blissfest the very best. Yeah, that's right. You might have heard less, but Blissfest, yeah, first, very best. Oh, it's the very best. Yeah, Blissfest, very best.
Good evening. Welcome to Blissfest Talks. We're here discussing nonprofit organizations with Miss Angela Sandoval. Hello, Angela. How are you this evening?
I'm doing great this evening. How are you?
Good, good. Tell us a little bit about your organization and what's going on.
Well, my organization is called Chosen Advocates Association, and we are a nonprofit organization that deals with the issues of human trafficking, particularly here in our communities, domestic human trafficking affecting our children.
Here in Denver?
Here in Denver.
Yes.
And Denver is, I don't know if you know, the top 10 cities in the nation for
right?
child sex trafficking of domestic children, because we're a hub, we have DIA, we have major highways to be able to transport. But a lot of people don't believe that that's happening to our children. A lot of people think that this is happening to foreign children from faraway lands, or children that are coming in from like Mexico or something like that, but not our children.
Tell us a little bit, how long have you been in this organization? How long have you had it up and running?
We started about 2.5 years ago, and what we wanted to do is bring, first of all, community awareness as to what the problem was. And so how we did that is we organized a National Human Trafficking Summit that took place back in September of 2015, which was significantly successful. We had the UN there, we had federal legislators there, we had politicians there, we had clergy there, we had probation officers there, we had judges there, lawyers there, we had medical professionals there. And we were doing something that a lot of people were not doing, because we looked at what is the missing pieces to be able to address this issue and to be able to help not only on the front end but on the back end of things, to be able to help with rehabilitation and restoring the lives of those that have been affected by this issue.
So tell us real quick, what inspired you to take this direction?
You know, I had, to tell you the truth, I had a woman come to a church and tell us about human trafficking, and to tell us about domestic trafficking, and to tell us like where Denver sits at in regards to child sex trafficking. And the statistics were outstanding, and it really affected me. I didn't know what I wanted to do because I'm an RN by profession. I'm a medical professional. And so I looked at this issue and I said, this is a huge issue. It's bothering me that it's happening to children in my community, but I don't know what to do.
Is she a native of Colorado?
Actually, no. She came from Oklahoma. Her name is Julaine Christensen. She has a mega church out there in Oklahoma, so she was just a visitor, and that's something that affected her, and she's a huge voice and a huge advocate to be able to bring awareness with places that she goes and conferences that she has, to be able to address the issue and being able to help on the back end of things too.
So when did you first meet this lady?
About 4 years ago. So Chosen Advocate started about 2.5 years ago. And so it took me a couple of years to figure out what I wanted to do, because I had to do a lot of research. And then I also had my own life. A lot of times people, they want to do good things in the community, and they have their own life, and sometimes time slips away, and it's like, okay, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll put it off. And life happened, and so I kind of put it on the back burner. And one good friend of mine had told me, I remember you were talking about doing something for human trafficking and bringing community awareness. And it came back into my face. And it came back into my face like stronger than ever. And so I was like, okay, maybe this is a call from on high. I don't know if there's a lot of people that are believers, but I do believe in something higher than me. I believe in purpose and greatness. And so I am a prayer. And so I prayed about it and say, look, what do I do about this issue? Because I believe in a spiritual guidance to be able to show me what I need to do with my purpose and who I am to be a voice, because that's who I am. I'm very charismatic whenever I have passion about something.
Yes.
And so to know that this was an issue that affects humanity, all ages, all races, it's bipartisan, it's not judgmental, it's about commodities of human beings, and not only that, children, even to the ages of 1 year old.
Of course.
And so for me, looking at how this can take place and knowing that these little children are not able to advocate for themselves, I knew I needed to do something. And so that's what inspired me. And we ended up starting the nonprofit organization. I started researching who's doing something to address this issue. Just started making calls, sending out emails, and started reaching into like national networks of people that wanted to be a part of what we were doing. And so I looked at the medical side of things because I wanted to know, is people treating these children, when they rescue them, that's great that we're rescuing them, but what happens next?
So from the beginning, from this lady, what's her name again?
Julaine Christensen.
When Julaine?
Julaine.
When you met Julaine, you said she came from Oklahoma to Denver.
To Denver.
And this issue occurred in Oklahoma?
It does, yes.
And so she didn't bring the issue up until she met you, or?
No, actually, she was actually working on this issue for about, I think, a year before she brought it to our church. And she wanted to bring something that would shake people in our communities here in Denver. So she brought the statistics that happened out there in Oklahoma, but she also brought statistics as to what's happening here in Denver in our communities to really hit home.
Now you said church. You didn't mention that earlier. Tell us a little bit about this church that you're talking about. Is this the Church of
Power Invasion? Actually, is the name of that church, and they had a lot of different guests coming in, and she was one of them. And I happened to be there that Sunday. And
that's what gave you your first inspiration?
And that's what gave me my first inspiration.
Okay, interesting. So as those days went along and you were gathering this information from her, what all did you gather? I
gathered that Denver needed to address this issue. I mean, we are not where we need to be as a state on addressing the issue. Now, since I started Chosen Advocates, things have started to come to the forefront with legislators, policy writers, with law enforcement. We're not where we need to be as a community and as a state on addressing it, but we're getting there. And so I've met with so many significant people here in the community that want to do something, that know that I'm onto something in regards to the niche in holistic care, treating them holistically when they come out, but gathering that evidence-based practice. So there's a lot of pioneer work that we're doing, and right now is basically getting the word out and getting more people involved into our networks, which we're gonna have our second annual Human Trafficking Summit out in San Jose, California, September 23rd and 24th, because we had a husband and a wife who are also clergy, and Dr. Linda and Sonny Lara, they're doing significant things out there in San Jose, California, and they want to take this issue to the Bay Area and really address this issue, because they're on the back end of things. They're dealing with gang activity and organized crime, and looking at the umbrella of human trafficking. This happens in organized crime and in gangs because it's a multi-billion-dollar-a-year industry.
So can you tell us a little bit about this person's particular incident, or was she a part of this trafficking?
Was Julaine
a part of that trafficking?
She was not a part of being trafficked at all. It came to her attention, and I don't really know how it came to her attention. I know that she said that she had a burden on her heart when someone told her about it, and she did her own research. It's just a tragedy, and a lot of times people don't really want to talk about it, especially whenever you think about human trafficking, sex trafficking of children. People are just like, I don't want to talk about that because it's a deep situation. It's a deep, it may affect them in some negative way, and a lot of people have it from one ear out the other. But there's now a time, this is a time right now in this situation with human trafficking across the nation and worldwide, that a lot of people are being woken up, and there's a lot of, armies and generals that are coming together to be able to address this, because I believe that there's more good people out there than there is bad people.
So during that time in meeting this person, what did she disclose to you? Did she give you any kind of information that she was aware of?
She said that Denver was in the top 10 cities for child sex trafficking.
Did she know anyone in particular? Did she know any cases or anything?
Actually, she did. But when it comes to juveniles, a lot of times you can't really put the information out there because they're protected. But she started coming across, children, and she started, getting involved.
Could you share any of that information now by just saying John Doe or Jane Doe type of thing?
She shared that there was a couple of females, and she actually had. She's a musician, and so she had a song called Sarah's Song, and the song basically talks about a survivor, a child sex traffic survivor, and she has a video and everything on it as well. But she wrote the song, she got it produced, and it's out there now. But it's a story of a girl, a young teenage girl that was put into sex trafficking, and just the brokenness. And so she took that story, used it as a song, and now it's running rampant, in the Christian community, and everywhere that she goes, internationally, because she travels internationally and she shares that song.
Do you happen to know the name of the video?
It's called Sarah's Song.
Sarah's Song. And where can we locate that at?
On YouTube.
On YouTube.
Yes.
So it'll be Sarah's Song on
YouTube.
Okay. Well, tell us a little bit more of that involvement. After you were inspired by this person, what took you a little further after knowing, I'm saying personally?
What took me further is basically, like I said, it was God Almighty that took me further. I was actually scared of the whole topic at first because of knowing the perpetrators and knowing that they are very aggressive whenever it comes to their possession, because they look at these children as possession. Off of one child, they can make $250,000 a year. So, if somebody gets involved in that, I was like, okay, are they going to affect me and my family and, try to do something to us? Because a lot of people, they get scared. That's why they don't want to get involved. Sometimes people, they see someone snatch a purse and they're running, and people are like, I don't want to be involved. Right? I don't want to. The blinders are on. I don't want to get involved. Or you see somebody that's getting jumped. Oh, I don't want to get involved in that because I don't want to. Get hurt.
Right.
So, at first I was like, I didn't want to get involved. It's a scary situation. It's a scary topic when you think about it. But being inspired and knowing that I have to live my life sold out. At the end of the day, I have to have a purpose, and I have to do something for other people, even if it's scary, even going against the grain and going against, what people have to say about it. I knew I had to do something. Just like all of the great leaders of our nation, you think of Abraham Lincoln, you think of, Harriet Tubman, you think of these people that were significant, and they were ordinary people, but they did extraordinary things because why? They got themselves out of the way, and they decided to do something for other people, to stand up for what was wrong against humanity.
Right.
And so for me, they inspired me, Martin Luther King, he had so much adversity, so much hate towards him in regards to what he was doing in regards to standing up to equality. And we got to look at that, and we got to get back to that as a people, as a community. We got so far away from community. And so I've been inspired to bring community together to educate people, because people die because of lack of knowledge. Sure. If you don't know what's happening to your community, this is affecting us regardless if you see it or you don't see it. It's affecting our dollars, it's affecting our children. And a lot of times people are like, oh, that's not going to happen to me. Excuse me, it doesn't care if you're rich, you're poor. It doesn't care if you're black or white or yellow. It doesn't matter. The statistics shows from 2014. I don't have the 2015 statistics yet, but I will be getting that very shortly so that I can be educating people on those stats. But in 2014, they rescued 94 children here in Denver Metro. And out of the 94, there was 23% that were African American children, 23% were Hispanic. We had 7% that was Asian. We had 1% that was Native American. And then we had 34% that was Caucasian. And so when you look at the minority and you look at the breakdown of the minority groups, we have a big piece of that pie.
Sure.
And so these are kids, these are children. This is not the statistics of women coming out of it or even the labor human trafficking. This is just child sex trafficking.
Right.
And so that's here in Denver Metro. And so for me, it's like those are real numbers. Those are real children that are being rescued out of this. How many other children have they not rescued out of it?
That's true. In that bracket, is there an age group? Is there a certain age group that is larger than others?
There is. Usually the average age is 12 when they get inducted. But in 2013, the youngest was 9 years old. So.
And this is male and female.
Male and female. Majority is female.
Is female.
Both years, 2013, 2014, there was 2 boys that were rescued. But a lot of times, I'll tell you about the boys' situation. A lot of times, boys, it's a shameful, very shameful situation because of sodomy and all those different kinds of things that take place. And so it's harder for them to speak up. I had actually a survivor, a male survivor, who was trafficked by his stepfather, and he trafficked him at 5 years old to a pedophile ring. And the first time he got trafficked, he was handcuffed to a trucker's sink and was sodomized for over 6 hours.
Oh, so sad.
And so a lot of times the boys, it's harder for them to, be discovered or to show people or tell people. And it takes about 10 times for a child to tell another adult, 10 times they're telling different people that this is happening to them before something happens.
Right. I mean, over the course of the years, we've all known that, it's a touchy situation, especially in the religious world.
It is.
Would you consider that even being in that category of trafficking?
I do. I absolutely do. When you think about, the Catholicism, and you think about all of the different things that have come against priests and, these young boys that have been used in a very just absurd way, and a lot of people want to shoo that under the rug.
Right.
Absolutely. Sexual abuse towards any child that's where it starts. And a lot of times when these kids get trafficked, they're being trafficked by their family members. It's been discovered. When you look at prostitutes, a lot of prostitutes don't ask to be prostituted. Something happened to them when they were younger. Somebody's seen the at-risk issue that, hey, maybe this person was sexually abused by their family members, and they ran on the streets, because about 65% of these rescued victims from trafficking are runaways. And their issue was a worse off issue, and that's why they left home.
Which started at home.
And then these traffickers see that, they're on the streets, they need their basic living. I'm gonna go ahead and take them in. I'm gonna be either a ancestral type of father figure, or I'm gonna be a Romeo boyfriend, and then after I give them, their basic needs and, manipulate and whitewash their brain, then they're gonna be out on the streets working for me.
Right, and that's where the drugs and the alcohol and all
those
that
other things
come into play. And that's always been, I'm not saying norm, but that's the normal behavior that's always occurred with those types of things.
Yes.
And which of course is a great thing that you're doing about this and to bring it forward. It's been needed for quite some time. And as you're saying, we have children that are being involved, let alone the adults.
Children.
Okay. The ones that are being drugged across the borders. Tell us a little bit about that.
So a lot of times, with those that are being drugged across the borders, like when you see that kids are missing, especially like our domestic children. I have a friend who is a reporter out in the United Nations building out in New York. She was actually at my summit, Celia de la Vernet. She's an awesome woman. She's phenomenal in impacting this issue. She says there's a lot of, a few months ago, I believe it was maybe like 8 months ago, it was discovered that there was corrupt UN peacekeepers, and the youth, like a lot of our domestic children, because of other foreign countries, they want our kids. You see these kids missing, and you don't find them anywhere. Well, a lot of times they'll be taken out of the country to go into brothels, you know, across overseas because they want American children.
Sure.
Looking at children coming from other countries as well, like Mexico is a very big one, going across the borders from like Texas and Arizona and California. A lot of times these kids, they get promised that they're going to get a job here in America, and their family is thinking that, right? So they're like, oh, I'm going to go and get a waitress job. Maybe they're like 14, 15 years old. And they come across by a coyote, is what they say, but then they get into the hands of a trafficker, and they don't have any papers, they don't have any, you know, way to identification, they don't have any family members. So, I mean, of course, they're in bondage, you know, it's a slave trade. And you know what? A lot of people think, okay, slavery was abolished a long time ago. Actually, the numbers show now that slavery, this is modern day slavery, and that the numbers are even significantly greater than what it was before.
Yes, I've seen that also. You know what it makes me think of is that movie Slumdog Millionaire.
Yes. Oh, I remember
that was in that part where they took the little girl.
The little girl.
Yeah, and they kept her all the way until she was
older.
Yeah, she was older. That was a sad movie.
It was very sad.
You know, and you're making me think of other things of that such. There's lots of countries on this planet that do that almost without any recourse whatsoever. They look at it as being a thing that is norm, that you know that you can go down and pay this amount of money to spend time with these children.
That's true.
Where, of course, they're not prosecuted.
They're not. Because it's okay in
their country. It's okay in their country. Here in the U.S., of course, we frown on it greatly. We protect our children highly. We'll die for our children even.
Yes, we will.
The thing of it is that through your advocacy, where and what direction are you actually pushing towards to have more support?
We are actually in our research and development phase, and what that is going to consist of is we're organizing, and we're actually wanting to raise $1.5 million to push that research and development phase out, because we want to develop the first human trafficking medical response mobile unit, and that's going to consist of nurses, doctors, physicians. We're going to precept doctors because a lot of times they won't be able to recognize these types of victims. We're going to have politicians, social workers, human relations, all of us coming together as a team, because I already have that network. So we're looking to develop that, and we are looking to move our summit in all across the nation with all of these different advocates that want to be a part or doing something for this issue to bring more awareness and more involvement within the community. So that's where we're at right now.
Great. Tell us a little bit more before we close this evening. What are your near future plans?
Near future, I said we're going to have our second annual summit, September 23rd and 24th in San Jose, California.
There we go.
And so there's going to be so many different people that are going to be coming out for that as well. People, if you guys want to find out more about Chosen Advocates, you can go to www.caaprojectrestoration.org. There you will find all of the information in regards to the different phases that we're going to be going into. You'll be able to find more clips and videos and pictures of our last summit, all of the different kinds of projects that we were doing out in the community. There's more things to come in regards to involving community and empowering community on the prevention side. We have some Taekwondo Olympian instructors, and as well as Krav Maga instructors that train CIA, FBI, law enforcement, self-defense techniques to be able to get out of like a gun or all those different kinds of things. And we're going to be bringing that to the community. It's going to be called the Human Trafficking Fight Club, so HT Fight Club, and we're going to be educating people on their human rights, because there's 33 and a lot of people don't know what that is. And we're going to be educating them about human trafficking, what's happening in our communities, what signs to be able to look for and to report, the people to report to, and then also offer those self-defense classes to the community.
That's really great. We want to thank you so much for coming out this evening and being here on Blissfest Talks. And of course, you'll be able to watch Angela on another show of her own coming up here known as The Source. Thank you so much this evening, and good night.
Blissfest is the best, yeah. Blissfest the very best, yeah. That's right, you might have heard less, but Blissfest, yeah, first, very best, It's the very best, yeah. Blissfest, very best.